Hey there, Libra Ascendant. How you doing? So this is all about the forecast, the 2-week forecast from the full moon in Aquarius right the way through to the new moon in Virgo. Now, if you're new to this channel, this is an ascendant forecast with a Western whole sign tropical perspective. Now, that's great if you are somebody who looks at your chart and examines your chart from a whole sign perspective. But if, like me, you're somebody who likes Placidus, then you might recognize that in your first house you've got Libra and Scorpio, so you might want to listen to this one and then the Scorpio forecast as well, just a suggestion. So anyway, what I'm going to be doing is looking at the psychological energies that are presented at the time of the full moon, then what's going on post full moon leading up to the new moon in Virgo. Now, I see this as 3 distinct phases. I'm going to talk to you about them right now. Let me bring up my slides. So I see these as a sort of revealed, refined, then rebirth. So the full moon is a bit like a revelation. It's a time where we have a full reveal. I spoke a lot about the full moon in the previous set of forecasts, and also I did a full moon forecast already, which has been released. But what's coming up at the time of the full moon is the full mess of who we are. Any masks that we've worn are coming down, and it just feels too tight to keep up the pretenses. It feels like things are just coming to the fore. And then in the post full moon period, there is a sort of pressure to purify. It feels like, it's a waning moon phase. It's time to let go of a lot of things that aren't working. Things that have become apparent cannot be ignored anymore. And then as we're coming up to the rebirth of the new moon, this is quite a special new moon, I have to say, because there's actually going to be 2 new moons in the sign of Virgo, one on the 23rd of August and then one a month later on the 23rd of September. Now, this one has what's known as a finger of Yod pointing at it. It's a finger of God, a finger of fate, a Yod, however you want to call it. It's a very specific bit of sort of sacred geometry, sacred planetary geometry, and it's pointing at what's resolving things in our chart right now and what we need to put our attention on. And what we need to put our attention on is the new moon point in your chart, the new moon in Virgo. So I've broken it down into 3 different questions. I do think this statement is throughout the whole 2-week period. I think we need to honor the mess whilst not giving up the sacred. But anyway, here are my 3 questions for you, and I will answer them by the end of this forecast. So where has my mask been for survival, and what would I prefer to express? What truth about myself or my life has become impossible to ignore, and what would shift it? And the final question is, what small sacred act of cleansing and reordering could help me restore faith in myself? And so, this is looking at the revelation, looking at how we can refine and then come into this act of rebirth. So it's that focus I've got. Now, I've got 2 charts. I'm going to look at the full moon chart and also the new moon chart from your perspective. But before I bring them up, I just want to say thank you to everybody that continues to support the channel, that has supported it historically, and also to my members from my communities that are also helping me to support my channel. I really, really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. So we've got the questions, we've got the focus. Let's have a look at these charts. So Libra, this is the chart for the full moon in Aquarius on the 9th of August. And you can see this is highlighting your 5th house and also your 11th house, because the Sun and Mercury retrograde are in the 11th, and then they're both in opposition to Pluto retrograde from Mercury's perspective, and also the full moon is in opposition to the Sun. Now, a quick little aside about Mercury retrograde. He's going direct on the 11th, and I will be releasing something on the 11th talking about how you're getting back on track with Mercury. It's just a 3 or 4 minute video, quick sort of shot of encouragement, and examining a little bit in very quick time between Mercury and Pluto. So you might want to watch that. Now, you don't have to wait to the 11th. If you watch to the end of this forecast, it will come on straight after. So bear that in mind. You get a sneak peek. But yeah, we've got these two oppositions at the time of the full moon. And then this is the most important one, I think, is we've got this double opposition going from Mars to both Saturn and Neptune in your 7th house. So, Mars has just gone into your 1st house, which is usually a cause of celebration, I would say, because, Mars in your 1st house, you're feeling a lot more energized, you're feeling a lot of vitality, feeling the need to move, feeling this need to assert yourself. To me, it's a time when boundaries naturally come up, not because you're scared, but because you can defend yourself. And you might think, don't like that over there. And a lot of people will put up with things. But, when Mars comes to town in the 1st house, you'll protect yourself a lot more. You'll develop your courage. You'll be developing your strength. And you might be making changes in the way you use your body. Like you might be starting a new sort of fitness regime or something like that. It's a very, very strong influence. But right off the bat, he's in opposition to Saturn. And I mean, Mars and Saturn in opposition is not a great aspect that we look forward to astrologically. It's difficult. It's really difficult. It comes up every couple of years. Saturn is about sort of tension and building and having things very, very specific. And Mars in opposition is really showing the rebelliousness and the need to rule yourself rather than be ruled over. So there's a lot of tension there. And of course, on that day, Mars is exactly in a trine to Uranus as well. And then later on, he's going into an exact opposition with Neptune. And that can also create some confusion about what you're rebelling against, or some confusion, like it feels like things aren't very clear. And so you're taking action to get clear. So there's a lot here about taking action for yourself. And you'll see that Mars is really in this very strong, strident grand trine, bringing about changes in your sense of courage, creativity, and that sense of adventure that you might want to bring into your world. So I think it's quite exciting. You'll see it's making an envelope. And you've probably heard the phrase pushing the envelope. I think, Libra, you're going to be pushing the envelope a little bit to explore a lot more in life. It's really sort of pointing and erupting through this Uranus position. But anyway, at the time of the full moon, there are lots of pressures on you, and the 5th house is what the full moon is illuminating, and that's your need and the stresses of managing things yourself, going into your own self-creation. Now, the 5th house I see as a place of pleasure, as a place of new starts and initiation. It can be a great place to start a new relationship, for instance, and it can be quite sensuous. There's a lot of lovemaking that can go on there. It's also a place where we conceive children. It's also a place where our children, our 5th house rules our children if we have children. So, the 5th house here can show where we might have pain from our children and stress and tension from our children. But it can also show that, something that we're creating about ourselves that would usually bring us joy is maybe feeling a little overwhelming. I would say overwhelm's a big one. And you may well feel a little bit tension from, friendly nudges from people on the outside looking in at what you're up to. And you might feel judged by them. There is this, I think, this emphasis to bring you back into the real world. And yet there's something that's really keeping you wanting to examine your own joy and what to do with it. So it feels tense. It's not the tensest position for a full moon, but Mars in opposition to Saturn and Neptune on your in your 1st house is very, very tense. And so I do think there are some sort of explosive energies at play here. Your need to define yourself and to get cracking and get moving, it may well seem to be judged by the people in your life. They might be trying to pin you down and get you to define what you're doing. And you may well feel like, I don't need your interference. I'm really happy in my own space. So there's a lot going on there. As we're coming up to the time of the new moon, there's a whole new energy emerging. Now, like I said, there's going to be 2 new moons in Virgos. This one at 0 Virgo on the 23rd. And at the 23rd of September, we've got a new moon in Virgo at 29 degrees in Virgo. It's really setting the scene for a new start here. But, this double Virgo energy for you is emphasizing the 12th house, which is the place of our intuition. It's the place of our instinctual behaviors, you could say, the things that come up, the things that can trigger us, all our old memories. A lot of the programs we've got running, including things like self-sabotage, we can't really see what's going on in the 12th house. The 12th house is a very sort of hidden house. Like when you're born, you're kind of looking this way in your chart. You go from your first to your second to your third. So this is really a place of where our stories about ourselves are dissolving. What was relevant to us once just doesn't seem so relevant anymore. It's almost like a cosmic pause, between the starting of a new life and the ending of the old one. So to me, it feels like there may be times, it might be a time to honor endings in your world, and to recognize that sometimes when things end, you might not get to understand why they're ending. There's almost like a mystery. There's like in this moment of pause, there are questions. And so there is some magic that exists here. It's not comfortable. Like the 12th house, I remember when I first started learning astrology, in my early teens, and I read a book and it was saying that, the 12th house is a place of our self-undoing. And yeah, I can see it does work like that, but it sounds really quite difficult, but the 12th house is maybe where we'll start to pull apart at the things that have brought us joy, the things that we have enjoyed, but maybe we're at a time in our lives where things just aren't so relevant anymore. And so, yeah, you might be pulling out your own feathers, but hopefully what's happening is you're assessing and realizing that some things are no longer valid or viable or even needed. And, that sounds like it's a poor me scenario. That sounds like, oh God, it sounds traumatic. What's going on for the next, month or so? But actually, I think this is actually you going into a moment of empowerment, because Mars is steaming in here. Mars is in the first house. Pluto's in the fifth, really wanting a clean break in terms of your intimate relationships and also what you're putting your time and effort into. I think the full moon at the start of this forecast has probably brought with it, I don't know, like a feeling that things have to change, things have to be cleared, so that you can start again. And I really get there's this freshness coming up in your romantic life. There's a feeling of a new start. And Uranus in the 9th house is really showing this, I think, rapid anticipation and curiosity for the adventure. You really are wanting to recreate your life from a new perspective. So yeah, this is an interesting time to me. It feels like this yod, this voice of God coming into you is saying it's okay to rest a little bit. It's okay to pause. It's okay to just take your time. Traditionally, when I'm looking at somebody's charts, when the sun is coming through here, and then usually Mercury and Venus, as these personal planets are coming through the 12th house, it's usually a time when we feel a little bit tired. A bit like, when you go to sleep at night, it's been reported that our dreams are just our unconscious mind making sense of everything that's gone on. This period of time, this is a rest, this is a pause, this is for you to put your feet up a little bit, because something very strong is coming. And I really see that this new moon is saying, right, it's time to pause, it's time to put your feet up. And then the following new moon, which is an eclipse, right before your first house on the 23rd of September, it's saying, get ready. Literally get ready. What the shift that you've been wanting is about to come forwards, because after that, the emphasis is absolutely going to be in this Libra energy. You'll be into the Libra time. So this is your time to pause, rest, reflect, relax, and come into an equilibrium. Start allowing the things around you to pass away a little bit. And also maybe start thinking about what you would like to come in. But my advice is don't run off and do it. Allow the old to just allow there to be a break. If you end one relationship, you might find it useful to wait a while, for all those energies to filter out, for the ex, the sort of energy of the ex that you might be carrying in your auric field to clear away, so that you're fresh when you meet somebody new. It's not nice, is it? Sort of, it's a bit like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story. You know, nobody really wants to go and sleep in somebody else's bed. We want a fresh bed to be made before we get in. So, this is an important time. There's a couple of moments that I want to just point out to you, and then I'll answer those questions that I posed at the start. So this period of time between the 9th and the 12th, I think, is important. Because things are moving very, very fast. I think whatever is transpiring for you around the time of the full moon, I think there's a lot of knowledge coming out. There's lots of snap decisions, snap realizations, and things are making sense very, very quickly. In particular, with this sort of envelope shape and all these planets working so fast and furiously together, I think whatever snappiness there is, I think it's showing you need a lot more freedom. That the life you've built for yourself, it doesn't feel as free as it needs to. And so this Mars trine Pluto, you know, from the 1st to the 5th, is really encouraging you to be the creator of your world and not to take all the instructions from the other people around you. Which is a very un-Libran thing to do, because like Librans are so sort of collaborative and diplomatic, but no, this is time for you to instruct yourself. Like, this is what I like doing. This is what I'm going to do. You know, Saturn sextile Uranus is, I think, showing that it's great when you've got your partner helping you to be free. But actually Pluto, like your joy, can lead you to freedom in a much more powerful way. You don't need the partner necessarily to say, yes, I agree with that, love. You know, this is what we're going to do. It's for you to decide. Now, I really like this as well. This is beautiful because Venus is your ruling planet and she's in the top of the chart. So she's in a very, very strong place and she's making a connection to Jupiter. Now, these are the two benefics. This is really lovely on the 12th. This is a very, very lucky time for you. To me, this is a great time to recognize, you know, your career commitments or what projects you're working on. You know, everyone has a sort of legacy in their heads at some point. You know, we all stand for something in our lives, I guess. And there is a sense that around this time, you're really working at something and it feels like that makes sense. So I do get this feeling that whatever's going on between the 9th and the 12th, it moves fast, it clears, it clarifies, and you're feeling that makes sense. This is my journey. I understand my journey a lot more now. Now, there's a couple more things. On the 19th, we've got the sun in an exact trine with Chiron. So the sun is around here, Chiron is around here. So there's this sense of healing from everything to do with partners and their family. So, for instance, stepchildren come into this category. So anywhere where there's been pain around stepchildren, and your relationship with your partner, or you could read this as anywhere where your partner's creations and how they have created their life, anywhere where that has created pain or separation or rejection or anything like that, there is this feeling of healing, which I think is very, very strong. Now, it's not to say it's not going to come up again, but to me on the 19th, I feel it really makes sense that you understand. All of a sudden it just feels like, no, you do you, I do me, it's totally fine, and we can meet in the middle, and something clicks into place, so much so that you just think, it's never going to bother me like that as much as it has before. It just feels like you've really got a handle on it. And I think this is a cause for celebration for sure. Just before the new moon on the 23rd, actually on the day of the new moon, Venus, if I just go to that chart, Venus, your ruling planet, is exactly in a square to Chiron. So whatever pain you realise you've got a handle on around the 19th, I think there may be something else, you know, in terms of how you and your partner stand in the world together. So it's not about what they've created in the world, like their children or their businesses. It's more about how you come together to show your own united front. And there's some tension there. But I think this is the kind of tension that is reminding you that it's time for a pause. It's time to refresh and rebirth into the mystery of life. So I'm just going to go back and answer those questions for you as best I can. So the first question was, where has the mask been for survival? And what might I prefer to express? Well, I think the survival mask that you've most likely held on to all this time is that You're here to be the people pleaser. You're here to make sure everything works, not in a sort of practical way necessarily, but you're the balm for people. You're the person that organizes the people. You're the person that soothes things, sorts it out, and you've built your identity on that. With Mars coming in here at the time of the full moon, that mask is off. Anywhere where you've been pathologically people pleasing, that needs to go. That, to me, that's just going to drop away, because you're seeing now that it causes you more pain than pleasure. And now, with Mars in the first house, the need for you to stand in what is pleasing for you and to stand for it as a possibility, that's so strong. That's really, really strong. And so as you do that, I just think you'll start to express your desire to enjoy yourself, and not, I think you've had quite a strong appetite for kind of settling, like settling with situations and thinking, oh, well, nothing's perfect. I just, and you've humbled yourself. But actually at this time, this is a time when, so you can hear my kids having a water fight in the garden. This is a time when you are coming first, you're putting yourself first, and it's about time. It really, truly is about time. What truth about myself has become impossible to ignore, and what would shift it? Well, I may have already answered that, but what truth has become impossible to ignore? I would say Uranus is definitely about truth and revelations, and in this position right now at this top of this envelope, he's almost like the top of a volcano. To me, it feels like your escape, your need to escape, your need for some independence is really coming up as a strong theme, and your need to know what's in your mind and know that it's yours, that you can't be guilted, you can't be influenced. To me, it feels like this is a time for you to feel a sense of inspired adventure. And I think you can't ignore it anymore. So anywhere where you've settled for things being mundane, manageable, practical, where you've been people pleasing and getting the job done, that time is coming to an end. This is a time for you to be the adventurer that you dreamt of being. I would ask you right now, what did you dream of doing? And how did it feel to you? Like, if you imagined like different stages in your life, what dreams did you have? Because you might not be able to get those dreams, but the sense of the dreamer within you, I think, needs to come out and will come out. And I think it will take you on some great journeys. What small sacred act of cleansing and reordering could help me restore faith in myself? I think you need to be seen and admired right now. And I know that doesn't sound probably very sacred. It could sound almost a bit egotistical, but your ruling planet is Venus, and Venus is in a conjunction with Jupiter right at the top of your chart. And there's nothing more sacred than the two of these in a lovely trine to the North Node in the sign of Pisces. To me, this is you reveling. To me, it feels like as you recognize you've been a people pleaser and you come back into your own authority and say, I'm putting myself first. As you realize that you are maybe not impressed with the mundane and the settlement, and you're wanting to be in the magic and the adventure of life, all of this is changing you. And so I think the thing that would help you feel the best is to be out and about in a really natural way, in a way where you feel like the wind in your hair, you feel like you're on the cover of a magazine. To me, anything that you can do that allows you to feel like you're in the senses. Libra is a very sensual sign, like the five senses are activated. I always think Venus is, it relates to things. And I think we do it through the five senses, the ears, the eyes, the smell, the taste. So I think a small act of sacredness would be for you to enjoy being in your body, and to enjoy the visualness of being in your body, to enjoy the feeling of nice fabrics on your skin, the wind in your hair, the sun on your face, the sounds of birds in the background, or bees, or whatever it is, children running and having water fights in the back garden, whatever it is that lights you up and feels good. I think you need to be in that sort of sensuous moment. and also be seen and be admired. You know, the Libran energy needs to be admired and seen and appreciated. And, you know, you're a class act. And, you know, when you're in the underdog position, it's very, very difficult for you to get your class on. So I think your small sacred act is more about restoring faith in your classiness, restoring faith in your attractiveness. And who cares if it sounds vacuous or, you know, if it sounds a little self-indulgent. You've been working really hard for so long, and now it's time for a little bit of luxury for yourself. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It just could be a beautiful cashmere throw or something, or just your favorite, I don't know, your favorite pants that just really make you feel good. But give yourself that luxury and give yourself that feeling of sensuality. And I think that will start the ball rolling for that beautiful self-care and that beautiful pause during these new moon in Virgo times. Now, I hope that's been helpful. Like I said, the Mercury retrograde to Mercury direct, that short video is coming up right next. But if this forecast really spoke to you, then come join my membership. You know, you'll find Monday to Friday forecasts, fortnightly forecasts on love, matters of the heart and money. It's also a place to sort of share and grow. We have hangouts and things. Or if you'd like me to explore your chart with you, then just head to the links below. All of it is in the links below. You can book a private session or come aboard. But thank you so much for joining me today. And hopefully I'll see you another time real soon. Lots of love, Libra. Bye for now.